Chapter 3. Faith, Visualizing and Believing in the Attainment of Desire, the second step to riches. Faith is the head chemist of the mind. When faith is blended with the vibration of thought, the subconscious mind instantly picks up the vibration, translates it into spiritual equivalent, and transmits it to infinite intelligence. As in case of prayer, faith, love, and sex are the most powerful of all major positive emotions. When the three are blended, they have the effect of coloring the vibration of thought in such a way that it instantly reaches the subconscious mind, where it is changed into spiritual equivalent, the only form that induces a response from infinite intelligence. Love and faith are psychic, related to our spiritual side. Sex is purely biological and related only to the physical. The mixing or blending of these three emotions has the effect of opening direct line of communication between the finite thinking mind and infinite intelligence. How to develop faith? Faith is the state of mind that may be induced or created. The affirmations or repeated instructions to the subconscious mind through the principle of autosuggestion. As an illustration, consider the purpose for which you are presumably reading this book. The book object is naturally to acquire the ability to transmute the intangible thought impulse of desire into physical counterpart money. By following the instructions laid down in the chapter 3 on autosuggestion and chapter 11 on the subconscious mind, you may convince the subconscious mind that you believe you will receive what you ask for. It will act upon that belief, passing back to you in the form of faith, followed by definite plans for procuring your goal. The method by which one develops faith where it does not already exist is extremely difficult to describe, almost as difficult, in fact, as it would be to describe the color of red to a blind man. Faith is the state of mind that you may develop at will after you have mastered the 13 steps to riches in this book. Making repeated affirmations to your subconscious mind is the only known method of developing the emotion of faith voluntarily. Perhaps the meaning may be made clearer through the following explanation as the two way to people sometimes become criminals. Stated in the words of famous criminologist, when people first come into contact with the crime, they abhor it. If they remain in contact with the crime for a time, they become accustomed to it and endure it. If they remain in contact with it long enough, they finally embrace it and become influenced by it. This is the equivalent of saying that any impulse of thought which is repeatedly passed into the subconscious mind is finally accepted and acted upon. The subconscious mind proceeds to translate that impulse into physical equivalent by the most practical procedure available. In connection with this, consider again the statement all thoughts which have been emotionalized, given feeling, and mixed with the faith begin immediately to translate themselves into their physical equivalent or counterpart. The emotions or the feeling portions of thoughts are the factors that give thought vitality, life, and actions. The emotions of faith, love, and sex, when mixed with any other thought impulse, give it greater action that any of these emotions can do singly. Not only thoughts impulses which have been mixed with faith, but also those that have been mixed with any of the positive emotions or any of the negative emotions may reach and influence the subconscious mind. From this statement, you will understand that subconscious mind will translate a thought impulse of negative or destructive nature into its physical equivalent just as readily as it will act upon thought impulses of a positive or a constructive nature. This account for the strange phenomenon so many millions of people experienced refers to as misfortune or bad luck. Millions of people believe themselves doomed to poverty and failure because of some strange force over which they believe they have no control. They are creators of their own misfortune because of the negative belief, which is picked up by the subconscious mind and translated into physical equivalent. This is an appropriate place at which to suggest again that you may benefit by passing to your subconscious mind any desire that you wish to translate it into physical or monetary equivalent in a straight expectancy or belief that transmutation will actually take place. Your belief or faith is the element that determines the action of your subconscious mind. There is nothing to hinder you from deceiving your subconscious mind when giving it instructions through the autosuggestion. As I deceived my son's subconscious mind to make the deceit more realistic, conduct yourself just as you would if you were already in possession of the material thing which you are ready were demanding. When you call upon your subconscious mind, the subconscious mind will transmute it into physical equivalent by the most direct and practical media available. Any order given to it in a state of belief or faith, that order will be carried out. Surely enough has been stated to give a starting point from which one may, through experiment and practice, acquire the ability to mix faith with any order given to the subconscious mind. Perfectly will come through practice. It cannot come by merely reading instructions. If it is true that one may become a criminal by association with crime, and this is known fact, it is equally true that one may develop faith by voluntarily suggesting to the subconscious mind that one has faith. The mind comes finally to take on the nature of the influence that dominated. Understand this truth and you will know why is it essential for you to encourage the positive emotions and dominating forces of your mind and discourage and eliminate negative emotions. A mind dominated by positive emotions becomes a favorable abode for the state of mind known as faith. A mind so dominated may at will give the subconscious mind instructions which it will accept and act upon immediately. Faith is the state of mind which may be induced by autosuggestion. All through the ages, religious leaders have admonished struggling humanity to have faith in this, that, and the other dogma or creed, but they have failed to tell people how to have faith. They have not stated the faith is state of mind and that it may be induced by self-suggestion. In language any normal human being can understand, we will describe all that is known about the principle through which the faith may be developed, where it is does not already exist. Have faith in yourself. Faith is in the infinite. Before we begin, you should be reminded again that faith is the eternal elixir which gives life, power, and action to impulse of thought. The foregoing sentence is worth reading a second time, and a third, and a fourth. It is worth reading aloud. Faith is the starting point of all accumulation of riches. Faith is the basis of all miracles and mysteries that cannot be analyzed by the rules of science. Faith is the only known antidote to failure. Faith is the element, the chemical, which, when mixed with prayer, gives one direct communication with infinite intelligence. Faith is the element that transforms the ordinary vibration of thought created by the finite mind of man into the spiritual equivalent. Faith is the only agency that through which the cosmic force of infinite intelligence can be harnessed and used. Every one of the foregoing statement is capable of proof. The proof is simply and easily demonstrated. It is wrapped up in the principle of autosuggestion. Let us center our attention, therefore, upon the subject of self suggestion and find out what it is capable of achieving. It is well known fact that one comes finally to believe whatever one repeats oneself, whether the statement to be true or false. If a person repeats a lie over and over, the lie will eventually be accepted as truth. Moreover, it will be believed to one be the truth. Each one of us what we are because of dominating thoughts we permit occupy our minds. Thoughts which are deliberately placed on our own mind and encouraged with sympathy and with which we are mixed, any one or more of the emotions constitute the motivating forces. These forces direct and control our every moment and act and deed. Those which are mixed with any of the feelings or emotions constitute a magnetic force which attracts from the vibrations of the ether other similar or related thoughts. A thought thus magnetized with emotion may be compared to a seed that, when planted in a fertile soil, germinates, grows, and multiplies itself over and over again until that one small seed becomes countless millions of seeds of the same brand. The ether is great cosmic mass of eternal forces of vibration. It is made up of both destructive vibration and constructive vibrations. It carries at all times vibrations of fear, poverty, disease, failure, misery, and the vibrations of prosperity, health, success, and happiness. It does this just as surely as it carries thousands of hundreds of orchestrations of music and hundreds of human voices, all of which maintain their individuality and means of identification through the medium of radio. From the great storehouse of the ether, the humankind is constantly attracting vibrations that harmonize with that which dominates the mind. Any thought, idea, or plan, purpose which one holds in one's mind attracts from the vibrations of the other, of a host or its relatives. It adds these relatives to its own force and grows until it becomes dominating the motivating master of the individual in his whose mind it has been housed. Now let us go back to the starting point and find out how the original seed of an idea, plan, or purpose may be planted in the mind. This information is easily conveyed. An idea, plan, or purpose may be placed in the mind through repetition of thought. This is why you are asked to write out a statement of your measure purpose or define a chief aim, commit it to memory, and repeat it in audible words day after day until these vibrations of sound have reached your subconscious mind. We are what are because of the vibrations of thought that we pick and register through the stimuli of our daily environment. Resolve to throw off the influences of an unfortunate environment and to build your own life to order. Taking an inventory of the mental assets and liabilities, you will discover that your greatest weakness is the lack of self confidence. This handicap can be surmounted and timidity is translated into the courage through the aid of principle of autosuggestion. The application of the principle may be made through a simple arrangement of the positive thought stated in writing, memorized and repeated until they become the part of the working equipment of the subconscious faculty of your mind. Self confidence formula. First, I know that I have the ability to achieve the object of my definite purpose in my life. Therefore, I demand of myself persistent, continuous action towards its attainment, and I here and now promise to take such action. Second, I realize the dominating thoughts of my mind will eventually reproduce themselves in outward physical action and gradually transform themselves into physical reality. Therefore, I will concentrate my thoughts for 30 minutes daily upon the task of thinking of the person I intend to become, thereby creating in my mind clear mental picture of that person. I know through the principle of autosuggestion that any desire I persistently hold in my mind will become seek expression through some practical means of attaining the object. Therefore, I will devote 10 minutes daily to demanding of myself the development of self confidence. Fourth, I have clearly written down a description of my definite chief aim in life. I will never stop trying until I have developed sufficient self confidence for its attainment. I fully realize that no wealth or position can long endure unless built upon truth and justice. Therefore, I will engage in no transaction that does not benefit all whom it affects. I'll succeed by attracting to myself the forces I wish to use and the cooperation of the other people. I will induce others to serve me because of my willingness to serve others. I will eliminate hatred, envy, jealousy, selfishness, and cynicism by developing love for all humanity because I know that negative attitude towards other can never bring me success. I will cause others to believe in me because I will believe in them and in myself. I will sign my name to this formula, commit it to memory, and repeat it aloud once a day with full faith that it will gradually influence my thoughts and actions so that I will become a self reliant and successful person. Underpinning this formula is law of nature that no one has yet been able to explain. It has baffled the scientists of all ages. Psychologists have named this law autosuggestion and let it go add that the name by which one calls this law of is of little importance. The important fact about it as it is it works for the glory and success of humankind if it is used constructively. If used destructively, on the other hand, it will destroy just as readily. In this statement may be found a significant truth. Those who go down in defeat and end up their lives in poverty, misery, and distress do so because of the negative application of the principle of autosuggestion. The cause may be found in the fact that all impulses of thought have a tendency to clothe themselves in their physical equivalent. The subconscious mind, the chemical laboratory in which all thought impulses are combined and made ready for the translation into physical reality, makes no distinctions between constructive and destructive thought impulses. It works with the material we feed it through our thought impulses. The subconscious mind will translate it into reality, a thought driven by fear reality. just as readily as it translates into reality a thought driven by courage or faith. The pages of medical history are rich with illustrations of cases of suggestive suicide. A person may commit suicide through negative suggestion just as effectively as by any other means. In Midwestern City, a bank official named Joseph Grant borrowed a large sum of bank's money without the consent of the directors. He lost the money through gambling. One afternoon, the bank examiner came and began to check the accounts. Grant left the bank and took a room in the local hotel. When they found him, 3 days later, he was lying in bed, wailing and moaning, repeating over and over these words: "My God, this will kill me. I cannot stand the disgrace." In short time, he was dead. The doctors pronounced the case of one of mental suicide. Just as electricity will turn the wheels of the industry and provide useful service if used constructively, or snuff out life if wrongly used, so will the law of autosuggestion lead to you to peace or prosperity, or down the valley in the valley of misery, failure, and death. It all depends on your degree of understanding and application of it. If you fill your mind with fear, doubt, and disbelief in your ability to connect with and use the forces of infinite intelligence, the law of autosuggestion will take the spirit of unbelief and use it as a pattern which your subconscious mind will translate into the physical equivalent. This statement is as true as the statement that two and two are four. They like the wind that carries one ship east and another west. The law of association will lift you up or pull you down according to the way you set your sails of thought. The law of autosuggestion, through which any person may rise to altitudes of achievement that stagger the imagination, is well described in the following verse: If you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you like to win but you think you can't, it is almost certain you won't. If you think you will lose, you are lost. For out of the world we find, success begins within person's will. It's all in state of mind. If you think you are outclassed, you are. You have got to think high to rise. You have to be sure of yourself before you can ever win a prize. Life battles don't always go to the stronger or faster man, but soon or late, the one who wins is the one who thinks he can. Observe the words which have been emphasized, and you will catch the deep meaning of the poet had in mind. Somewhere in your makeup, perhaps in the cells of your brain, lies sleeping the seed of achievement. If aroused and put into action, this would carry you heights such as you may never have hoped to attain. Just as a master musician may cause the most beautiful strains of music to pour forth from the strings of violin, so may you arouse the genius which lies asleep in your brain and cause it to drive up forward to whatever goal you may wish to achieve. Abraham Lincoln was failure at everything he tried until he was well past at the age of 40. He was Mr. Nobody from nowhere until a great experience came into his life, aroused the sleeping of genius within his heart and brain, and gave the world one of his really great men. That experience was mixed with emotions of sorrow and love. It came to him through the Andre Rutledge, the only woman he ever truly loved. It is known the fact that the emotion of love is closely akin to the state of mind known as faith. Love comes very near to the translating one's thought impulses into their spiritual equivalent. During his research, the author discovered from the analysis of work and achievements of hundreds of men of outstanding accomplishment that there was the influence of woman's love behind nearly every one of them. The emotion of love in the human heart and brain creates a favorable field of magnetic attraction. This causes an influx of the higher and finer vibrations that are afloat in the ether. Let us consider the power of faith as it was demonstrated by men well known of all to all civilization. Mahatma Gandhi of India. In this man, the world experienced one of the most astounding examples of the possibilities of faith. Gandhi wielded more potential power than men living in his time, and this despite the fact that he had none of the orthodox tools of power such as money, battleships, soldiers, and materials of warfare. Gandhi had no money, he had no home, he did not even own a suit of clothes, but he did have power. How he did How did he come by that power? He created it out of his understanding of the principle of faith and through his ability to transplant that faith into the minds of 200 million people. Gandhi accomplished through the influence of faith something that the strongest military power on the earth could not and never will achieve through soldiers and military equipment. He accomplished the astounding feat of influencing 200 million minds to coalesce and move in unison as a single mind. What other force on earth except faith could do as much? In the mid 20th century, Martin Luther King, through his deep faith in his belief in human rights and dignity for all people, led men and women, all races, religions, and beliefs to join his struggle for civil rights. His dream that people will not be judged by the color of their skin but the content of their character has not been fully realized. But his work and his death have led to the significant improvements in civil rights and ambitious to keep fighting for their achievement. The watchword of the future will be human happiness and contentment. When this state of mind has been attained, the production will take care of itself more effectively than anything ever accomplished where people did not and could not mix faith, individual interest with their labor because of the needed faith for faith and cooperation in business industry. It will both interesting and profitable to analyze a particular event. This provides an excellent understanding of the method by which industrialists and leaders of the business accumulate great fortunes by giving before they try to get. The event chosen for this illustration dates back to 1900 when the United States Steel Corporation was being formed. As you read the story, keep in mind these fundamental facts and you will understand how ideas have been converted into huge fortunes. First, the huge United States Steel Corporation was born in the minds of Charles M. Schwab in the form of an idea he created through the imagination. Second, he mixed faith with his idea. Third, he formulated a plan for the transformation of his idea into physical and financial reality. Fourth, he put his plan into action with his famous speech at University Club. Fifth, he applied and followed through on his plan and with persistence and backed it with firm decision until it had been clearly carried out. Sixth, he prepared the way for the success by burning desire for success. If you have often wondered how great fortunes have accumulated, the story of creation of United States Steel Corporation will be enlightening. If you have any doubt that people can think and grow rich, the story should dispel that doubt because in it you can plainly see the application of major portion of 13 principles described in this book. John Lowell in the New York World Telegram, with whose courtesy it is here reprinted, dramatically told this astounding story of the power of an idea. A pretty after dinner speech for $1 billion. When on the evening of December 12, 1900, some 80 of the nation's financial nobility gathered in the banquet hall of the University Club on the Fifth Avenue to do an honor to a young man from out of the West. Not half of a dozen of the guests realized that they were to witness the most significant episode in American industrial history. J. Everett Simmons and Charles Stewart Smith, their hearts full of gratitude for the lavish hospitality bestowed on them by Charles M. Schwab during a recent visit to Pittsburgh, had arranged the dinner to reintroduce the 38-year-old steel man to an Eastern banking society. But they did not expect him to stampede the convention. They warned him, in fact, that the bosons within the New York stuffed shirts would not be responsive to oratory, and that if he did not want to board stimulants and Haramians and Vanderbilts, he had better limit himself to 15 or 20 minutes of polite vaporings or let it go at that. Even John Pierpont Morgan, sitting on the right hand of the shop, has become his imperial dignity, intended to grace the banquet table with his presence only briefly. And so far as the press and public were concerned, the whole affair was of so little moment that no mention of it found its way into print the next day. So, The two hosts and their distinguished guests are their way through the usual 7 or 8 courses. There was little conversation, and what there was of it was restrained. Few of the bankers and brokers had met Schwab, whose careers had flowered along the banks of Mona and Gila, and none knew him well. But before the evening was over, they and with him Money Master Morgan went to be swept off their feet and billion-dollar baby. The United States Steel Corporation was to be conceived. It perhaps unfortunate for the sake of history that no record of Charlie Shop's speech at the dinner ever was made. He repeated some parts of it later date during a similar meeting of Chicago bankers, and still later, when the government brought suit to dissolve the Steel Trust, he gave his own version from the witness stand of the remarks that stimulated Morgan into a frenzy of financial activity. It is probable, however, that it was a homely speech, somewhat ungrammatical, for the niceties of language never bothered Schwab, full of epigrams and threaded with wit. But aside from that, it had a galvanic force and effect upon the 5 billions of estimated capital that was represented by diners. After it was over and the gathering was still under its spell, although Schwab had talked for 90 minutes, Morgan led the orator to recessed window where, dangling their legs from their high, uncomfortable seat, they talked for an hour, 1 hour more. The magic of the shop personality had been turned on full force, but what was more important and lasting was the full fleshed, clear cut program he laid down for the aggrandizement of steel. Many other men had tried to interest Morgan in slapping together a steel trust after the pattern of the biscuit, wire, and hope sugar, rubber, whiskey, oil, or chewing gum combinations. John W. Gates, the gambler, had urged it, but Morgan distrusted him. The Moore boys, Bill and Jim, Chicago stock jobbers, who had glued together a match trust and a cracker corporation, had urged it and failed. Albert H. Gary, the sanctimonious country lawyer, wanted to foster it because he was not big enough to be impressive, until Schwab's eloquence took J.P. Morgan to the heights from which he could visualize the solid results of the most daring financial undertaking ever conceived. The project was regarded as delirious dream of easy money crackpots, the financial magnetism that began a generation ago to attract thousands of small and sometimes inefficiently managed companies into large and competition crushing combinations had become operative in the steel world through the devices of that jovial business pirate. John W. Gates and Gates already had formed the American Steel and Wire Company out of the chain and small concerns, and together with Morgan had created the Federal Steel Company, the Nation Tube and American Bridge Companies with two more concerns, and the Moore brothers had forsaken the match cookie business from the American Group. Tin plate steel, hoop sheet steel, and the National Steel Company. But by the side of Andrew Carnegie's gigantic vertical trust, a trust owned and operated by 53 partners, those other combinations were picayune. They might combine to their heart's content, but the whole lot of them could not make a dent into the Carnegie's organization, and Morgan knew it. The eccentric old Scot knew it too. From the magnificent heights of Skibo Castle, he had viewed first with amusement, then with resentment, the attempts of Morgan's smaller companies to cut into his business. When the attempts became too bold, Carnegie's temper was translated into anger and retaliation. He decided to duplicate every mill owned by his rivals. Hitherto, he had not been interested in wire, pipe, hoops, or sheet. Instead, he was content to sell such companies the raw steel and let them work into whatever shape they wanted. Now Schwab has his chief and able lieutenant. He planned to drive his enemies to the wall. So it was that in the speech of Charles M. Schwab, Morgan saw the answer to his problem of combination. A trust without Carnegie gigantic them of all, giant of them all, would be no trust at all. A plum pudding, one writer said, without the plums. Schwab's speech on the night of December 1900, undoubtedly carried the inference, though not the pledge, that the vast Carnegie enterprise could be brought under the Morgan tent. It he walked of the world fortune for steel, of recognition for efficiency, of specialization, of the scrapping of unsuccessful mills, and concentration of effort on the flourishing properties of economies in the one or traffic of economies in overhead and administrative departments of capturing foreign markets. More than one, he told that buccaneers among them wherein lay by the errors of their customary piracy. Their purposes, he inferred, that had been to create monopolies, raise prices, and pay themselves fat in dividends out of privilege. Schwab's condemned the system in his heartiest manner. The short sightedness of such policy, he told, his bearers lay in the fact that it restricted the market in the era when something cried for expansion. By cheapening the cost of steel, he argued an ever expanding market would be created, more uses for the steel would be devised, and goodly portion of the world trade could be captured. Actually, though he did not know it, Schwab was an apostle of modern mass production. So the dinner at the University Club came to an end. Morgan went home to think about Schwab's rosy predictions. Schwab went back to Pittsburgh to run the steel business for Andrew Carnegie, while Gary and the rest went back to their stock tickers to fiddle around in the anticipation of next move. It was not long coming. It took Morgan about 1 week to digest the feast of reason Schwab had placed before him. When he had assured himself that no financial indigestion was to result, he sent for Schwab a pound and found that young man was rather coy. Mr. Carnegie, Schwab indicated, might not like not found his if he found his trusted company president had been flirting with the emperor of Wall Street, the street upon which Carnegie was resolved never to tread. There, then, it was re-suggested by John W. Gates, the go-between, that if Schwab happened to be in the Bellevue Hotel in Philadelphia, J.P. Morgan might also happen to be there. When Schwab arrived, however, Morgan was inconveniently ill at his New York home, and so on the elder man's pressing invitation, Schwab went to New York and presented himself at the door of Financier's library. Now, certain economic historians have professed the belief that from beginning to the end of the drama, the stage was set by Andrew Carnegie, and that the dinner, the famous speech, the Sunday night conference between the Schwab and the Money King were the events arranged by the canny Scott. The truth is exactly the opposite. When Schwab was called in the consummate deal, he did not even knew whether the little boss, as Andrew was called, would so much as listen to an offer to sell, particularly to a group of men whom Andrew regarded as being endowed with something less than holiness. But Schwab didn't take the conference with him. In his own handwriting, 6 shades of copperplate figures representing to his mind the physical worth and the potential earning capacity of every steel company he regarded as essential star in the new metal firmament. 4 men pondered over these figures all night. The chief of the course was Morgan, steadfast in his belief in the divine right of money. With him, he was the aristocratic partner, Robert Bacon, a scholar and gentleman. The third was John W. Gates, whom Morgan scorned as a gambler and used as a tool. The fourth was a Schwab who knew more about the processes of making and stealing them any whole group of men than living. Throughout the conference, the Pittsburgh's figures were never questioned. If he said a company was worth so much, then it was worth that much and no more. He was insistent too upon including the combination of only those concerns he nominated. He had conceived a corporation in which there would be no duplication, not even to satisfy the greeds of friends who wanted to unload their companies upon the broad Morgan shoulders. Thus, he left out by design a number of larger concerns upon which the Walruses and carpenters of Wall Street had cast hungry eyes. When down came, Morgan rose and straightened his back, and only one question remained. Do you think you can persuade Andrew Carnegie to sell? He asked. I can try, said Schwab. If you can get him to sell, I'll undertake the matter, said Morgan. So far, so good, but would Carnegie sell? How much he demand? Schwab thought dollar 32000000. What would he take payment in? Common or preferred stocks, bonds, or cash? Nobody could raise in the order of $1 billion in cash. There was a golf game in January on the frost-cracking heart of the St. Andrews Links in the Westchester, and with Andrew bundled up with the sweaters against the cold, Charlie talking volubly as usual to keep his spirits up, but no word of business was mentioned until the pair sat down in the cozy warmth of the Carnegie cottage hard by. Then, with the same persuasiveness that had hypnotized 80 millionaires at the University Club, Shaw poured out the glittering promises of the retirement and comfort of untold millions to satisfy the old man's social caprices. Carnegie, capitulated, wrote a figure on the slip of paper and handed it to Schwab and said, "All right, that's what we'll sell for." The figure was approximately dollar 400,000,000 and was reached by taking the dollar 320,000,000 mentioned by Schwab as the basic figure and adding to dollar 80,000,000 to represent the increased capital value over the previous 2 years. Later, on the deck of transatlantic liner, the Scotsman said ruefully to Morgan, "I wish I had asked you for dollar 100,000,000 more. If you had asked for it, you had have gotten." Morgan told him cheerfully. 38-year-old Schwab had his reward. He was made president of the new corporation and remained in control until 1930. This dramatic story of big business was included in this book because it is perfect illustration of the method by which desire can be translated in physical equivalent. I imagine some readers will question the statement that a mere intangible desire can be converted into physical equivalent. Doubtless, some will say you cannot convert nothing into something. The answer is in the story of United States Steel. That giant organization was created in the mind of one man. The plan by which organization was provided with the steel mills that give it financial stability, created in the mind of a same man. His faith, his desire, his imagination, his persistence were the real ingredients that were into the United States Steel. The steel mills and mechanical equipment acquired by the corporation after it had been brought into legal existence were incidental, but careful analysis will disclose the fact that the appraised value of the properties acquired by the corporation increased in value by estimated $600 million by the mere transaction that consolidated them under one management. In other words, Charles M. Schwab's idea, plus the faith which he conveyed it to the minds of J.P. Morgan and others, was marketed for a profit of approximately $600 million, not an insignificant sum for single idea. What happened to the sum of the people who took their share of the millions of dollars of profit made by this transaction is matter with which are not now concerned. The important feature of the astounding achievement is that it serves as the unquestionable evidence of the soundness of the philosophy described in this book. Moreover, the practicality of philosophy has been established by the fact that the United States Steel Corporation prospered. It became one of the richest and most powerful corporations in America, employing thousands of people, developing new uses for steel, and opening new markets, thus providing the $600 million in profit which the Schwab idea produced was earned. Riches began in the form of thought. The amount is limited only by a person on whose mind the thought is put into the motion. Faith removes limitation. Remember this when you are ready to bargain with the life for whatever it is that you ask for your price for having passed this way. Remember also that the mere man who created the United States Steel Corporation was practically unknown at that time. He was merely Andrew Carnegie's man Friday until he gave birth to his famous idea. After that, he quickly rose to a position of power, fame, and riches. Now, for another examples of how faith in an idea made millions for one man and two, it helped countless others to increase their wealth. Sir John Templeton is a man with great faith in his talent to make sound and profitable investments. Templeton was better the most that most people are investing money because people often made investments based on emotion and grounds and not on common sense. He felt that by using the skill in investing, he could not only provide a needed services to the small investor but make a good deal of money for himself as well. To accomplish his stated started a group of mutual funds to manage another people's money. This was pioneering project as mutual funds were relatively new concept all time. Templeton owned what is salary. Templeton owned that concept into what it is today. He emphasized that the Templeton Growth Fund's first annual meeting that participants consisted of John Templeton, one part-time employee and one shareholder. We held the meeting in the dining room of a retired general food executive to save money. The Templeton funds now have more than 6,000 employees worldwide and $36 billion in assets. Driving that growth is the Templeton Group's well-earned reputation as the premier fund group for investing and a $10,000 investment in Templeton Growth Fund 40 years ago, which is worth $3 million today. By the time he retired and sold his Templeton Group fund interest in 1992, estimated $400 million. John Templeton estimated that he has helped a million people making money in addition to his own success.